We ended the last lesson on the Drake equation with this question: where is everyone? Now, here's the equation again, and we suggested that perhaps these last four terms, some of them might have small values, and that would then reduce the number of communicating civilizations in our galaxy, and that would explain why we haven't heard from anyone yet. Well, let's take a look at some of these values. Could it be that the emergence of life on a planet is a rare event? Could it be that even if life emerges, that getting intelligent life is a rare event? Or perhaps civilizations with technologies, they destroy themselves, or they choose not to communicate with the rest of the galaxy for some reason. We're going to call these the great filters. Perhaps there are these bottlenecks, and that's what explains the apparent lack of other communicating civilizations in our galaxy. All right, we're going to use this diagram to start to think about these last four terms. Let's take the fraction of habitable worlds where life emerges. So let's let Luca stand in for sort of the origin of life. And the question is this a rare event, or would this be a common event on planets like Earth? Planets in a habitable zone with liquid water on their surface. So how do we get at that? Was this easy or was this hard for planets to do? Well, one way you might look at it is, how long did it take for life to emerge on Earth? And the way scientists look at this, it was very soon after the end of the asteroids, the heavy bombardment area where the solar system sort of calmed down. It was very soon after that that life emerged on the planet. So the Earth formed, say, 4.5 billion years ago, and already by 4 billion years ago, life emerged. That makes it seem rather easy for a planet like Earth to produce life. Now, after the origin of life, we have 2 billion years of the evolution of different kinds of bacteria. What about photosynthesis? Was this easy or hard for evolution to hit upon, to achieve? Well, photosynthesis appeared early in the history of bacteria. So cyanobacteria, it didn't take long for them to evolve the protein machinery to capture sunlight energy and make their own food. So because it emerged early in the history of life on Earth, we're going to give that one the easy characterization. That once you get bacteria type of cells, that it won't be long until those cells evolve the capacity to harness the sun's energy. What about the large and complex cells? Well, here you'll recall this was an endosymbiosis event. Two cells merged to form a larger, more complex cell. Now here's where scientists think this might have been hard for life on Earth to achieve. Why? Because scientists think it just happened once. And here we see that endosymbiosis event on our sort of timeline of the history of life. Now, why do scientists think this was rare? Because all later living things on planet Earth are made of cells that have mitochondria. So this is thought to have happened once, and it's this creature that would be the ancestor of all future life forms more complicated than bacteria. Now, one way to think about this is that there might have been many types of unions between cells during the age of bacteria, but they were failures. And the reason why we say they're failures is because they didn't leave any descendants today. All of these cells today, all complex cells, have the same kind of mitochondria. So this organism here was the successful union out of perhaps many unsuccessful unions, but that makes it seem like it was a rare event. So that's why we're going to assign this step to be difficult. It was a rare event. And that means the emergence of intelligent life might be a rare event, because to get intelligence, you need to have those large complex cells, or so it was on planet Earth. What about multicelled life? Well, once the large complex cells emerged, it appears that multicellularity occurred independently several times. And so we're going to assign an easy probability for that. So that was an easy step to make for evolution. So a high probability that life gets multicellular once you have these large complex cells. On our history of life diagram, here we see the multicelled organisms here. Originating from a single-celled ancestor, we get multicelled fungi and animals, and then through a second endosymbiosis event, so again, one of these cells with mitochondria acquired a photosynthetic bacterium, and that would be the ancestor of multicelled algae, which are the ancestors of plants. What about intelligence? Here, scientists might assign this one to be a hard step, low probability event. Why? Because it happened late. If we're talking about our own species, we are 4 billion years into this history of life on Earth. That's a long time. And in fact, there are lots of animals that don't have big brains. You do not need big brains to be a successful animal species. So evidently, there had to be just certain circumstances in play before natural selection began to favor larger and larger brains. Again, the big brains, the intelligent species, are rare among all the different kinds of animals present on planet Earth. So from this line of thinking, we might conclude that big brains are not inevitable. That in the history of animal evolution, it went a long time without really big-brained species. So if big brains are not a foregone conclusion in the evolution of animal life on planet Earth, well then intelligence is not destined to evolve on planets like ours. So it may well be that intelligence is difficult to do. We have a hard step. Once you get animals, it's not a guarantee that you're going to get intelligent animals. And then also the step of the large complex cells, that endosymbiosis event was a rare event. So it may be that life is easy, but intelligent life might be difficult on other planets like Earth. So then that gets us to the last term. We just don't know how successful we will be in managing our technology and managing just our social relationships and managing and stewarding our planet. We just don't know. If we are not successful, and if that is an indication of the fates of others in our galaxy, then that might explain why we don't see many others communicating with us. But given these last 4 terms, perhaps life is easy, maybe intelligence is hard. Perhaps once you get intelligence, it's easy to develop technologies, but then maybe it's hard to live with those technologies for any length of time. So we just don't know. There's lots of uncertainty with these terms. And of course, we've only been looking for other life forms in our galaxy for a short period of time. But it's still a very exciting area of research, and what a discovery it would be if we do find evidence of other communicating civilizations in our galaxy. So we'll end here by considering our beautiful neighbor, the Andromeda Galaxy. And it's fun to think about, perhaps there are intelligent life forms in this galaxy as well. And maybe they have their own version of Frank Drake, trying to work out the number of communicating civilizations in their galaxy. And so it might be that their Drake in the Andromeda Galaxy and our Drake here in our Milky Way galaxy are both trying to work out an answer to this deep and profound question: are we alone?